Hello and a warm welcome back to the Pitch Side Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all of the updates from these episodes of the podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. And of course, follow us on social media and website BSB on Twitter, Pitch Side Pod on Instagram. Help us on our way to our first K here on the channel. And welcome to episode 125. And finally, we have our semi-final for the Champions League set and done and dusted. Now we know who is going to be facing each other in the Champions League semi-final after the second pair of quarter-final matches was played yesterday. And it turns out we're seeing Man City versus PSG and Real Madrid versus Chelsea. And for Man City, I think it was a bumpy road, but for Real Madrid, I think it was a pretty more, straightforward affair. So let's start from there and talk about the Liverpool versus Real Madrid game ending in a 0-0 draw at Anfield. And to be fair, this game could have really been different. This game could have really been, much more stressing for Real Madrid, particularly the first 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, Liverpool started in an explosive way. And when I mean explosive way, I mean they could have scored 2 or 3 in the first 5 minutes. Like, really, they were that dangerous. Real Madrid entered the game that bad. Like, it was. I mean, Real Madrid for the first 10 minutes were really lucky not to concede at least twice. Like, the first 3 minutes in particular, Liverpool had 2 chances for Mo Salah. Courtois made a save. James Milner then around 10 minutes in, takes a shot from outside the box and it's saved by Thibaut Courtois. I mean, in the first 10 minutes only alone, Real Madrid could have conceded 2 or 3, but they were spared the trouble. And then, Liverpool, kept pressing. To be fair to them, they played a better game than the first, absolutely. The fact that they, managed to put a pressure on Real Madrid, try to exploit a bit the exhaustion Real Madrid had from the course of the last couple of games. Of course, playing El Clasico, playing the first game against Liverpool, the schedule being thick and fast on them, playing with the same squad pretty much, low-key injury crisis in the club. Ramos is still injured and had COVID over his injury. Then you have Varane still absent. Lucas Vazquez, his season was over after the injury in El Clasico and he was missing, playing with Federico Valverde at right back, while everyone thought, well, he's playing 3 at the back, right? He didn't. He played 4 at the back, used Valverde as a right back and relied on Casemiro, Kroos and Modric in the middle, who I didn't think were the best of themselves yesterday, particularly Luka Modric and Kroos, who we always, I always praised as of late, of course, for controlling the pace, for really trying to set the tempo for the game. They didn't do that yesterday. Whenever Real Madrid got the ball, it was more passive than anything. Few of the opportunities where Real Madrid have, tried to penetrate, trying to get behind the Liverpool lines and behind the Liverpool fullbacks in particular. Liverpool's defence did a decent job. They didn't concede goals, which is, I think, something decent, but it was mostly because Real Madrid didn't attack that much to threaten them. Benzema didn't have a lot of opportunities, had only probably one true opportunity to score in the whole game. He didn't. It wasn't that dangerous. Liverpool, Liverpool's finishing, they need to work on it, really. You talk about the front 3, they're one of the biggest problems of Liverpool this season, is their front 3. Yes, you talk about the defence, you talk about the injuries and all of that, but I think the Liverpool front 3 are much worse of a problem than what, that one the defence is. Salah's decision-making was absolutely bad. Sadio Mane, I think, was out of the game in the first half in particular. He wasn't making the right decisions, not making the right movements. Probably looking for more of a contact of a penalty or a foul than anything else. And Firmino, Firmino is the low-key, the least talked about one of the 3. And that is, I think, understandable because he almost feels like a shadow on the pitch. I'm not talking that he's bad. I'm meaning that he almost don't feel the way he plays because his movement is like so slick and he links up so well and then he does make space for Salah and Mane, make space for the runners from in behind. But in this game, he was a part of the problem as well. Like, he is part of the problem for the whole season, by the way. This season has been horrendous for the front 3. And despite that, Salah is still the top scorer in the Premier League, and still, have a potential to end up, having a golden boot. So overall, in the first half, I think Liverpool should have scored at least once or twice. And I realised by the end of the first half that if Liverpool ain't scoring in the first half, they ain't scoring at all, because Real Madrid are going to just, stay at the back, and they know how to defend. And Zidane knows how to set his side. Real Madrid weren't defending 10 in the box or something like that, but they were defending really, really smart. And they knew they had to defend that way, because if they were defending, by running behind the ball and just moving around, Liverpool are going to outstretch them by the end, because they're exhausted. Because the Real Madrid are completely and utterly spent physically. They couldn't move by the end of the game. Really, they couldn't move. Like, the ball was just ricocheting off them. And Liverpool, despite that, they couldn't make anything of it. They had chances, opportunities. Courtois was saving, chances. I mean, the last 15 minutes in particular, when Zidane took out Kroos and took out Vinicius Jr., and you thought to yourself, well, he's defending and he's staying at the back, and that was the clear intention. Yet Liverpool couldn't penetrate them, and Jurgen Klopp also threw all of his attacking cards there. Oxlade-Chamberlain, he put Xherdan Shaqiri, he put on Diogo Jota, and used all of the momentum he has to just to try and break Liverpool down. He was playing basically with no defence in the late stages of the game. All of the players, aside from Fabinho, I think, were all trying to play in the box of Real Madrid. Corners coming in, crosses coming in. I mean, how many times this same sort of drill was repeated in this game? Alexander-Arnold plays a cross, it goes away, it goes to Robertson plays a cross, Salah shoots, doesn't make it, Mane shoots from the other side, doesn't make it, you have Wijnaldum took a shot, had missed chances, you had James Milner missed chances, some opportunities you think, with a better decision making, it could have been a goal. And it looks like a theme in the Champions League in the quarter-final, at least, or in the second leg, the fact that the decision making was really bad for the losing team, or the team that eventually was eliminated. Bayern Munich on Tuesday, and then of course Liverpool on Wednesday. And it looks like a thematic thing in the Champions League, and definitely something that hurts Liverpool too much. In my opinion, I think this exit is the expected sort of result for Liverpool, the normal sort of result for Liverpool for a season that was as depleted as their squad itself. It doesn't really strike me as a surprise to see Liverpool out of the Champions League. In fact, I think they extended their life when they got past Leipzig in the round of 16, because even against, Leipzig gave them the game in the round of 16 and they eased them the game, and I think that was sort of, falsified the perception in the Liverpool fans that they can do it, or they can go deep into the Champions League semi-finals and finals, all of that, and dreaming of comebacks and dreaming of another miracle in Istanbul, but they ain't getting there, unfortunately. Let's turn to Real Madrid now. Let's give the victors their praise. Let's give the qualifiers their praise. Real Madrid, again, knew that they are spent physically, and knew that they have to defend smartly. They had to play the game at the slow tempo. Yes, they were pretty much taken aback by Liverpool's early pressure and early blaze in the first 10 to 15 minutes, but they settled it really well afterwards, and they frustrated Liverpool and managed to frustrate them really, really well. I thought for a makeshift centre-half pairing, with the absences of Ramos and Varane, I thought Nacho and Militao were particularly great. Valverde, you have to take off the hat for him, who's playing on painkillers. It's ridiculous. The guy was playing on painkillers, and yet he delivered. He delivered. Not exactly great performance, but he delivered. For someone who's injured and plays on painkillers, the guy delivered really, really, really well. That's why I think to want to thank, because Zidane, when it comes to these kind of games, when it comes to these kind of echelon, he looks like one of the best managers in the world. He was one of the best tacticians in the world. He manages his game really well. He puts the right pieces in the right places, and he gets the right result every time. Real Madrid now gone to the semi-final, and from a point in the early on of the season where we're like, they're not going to win anything, they're far from winning the Champions League, they're far from winning the league, and far from all of that. But we come to the point of the season now, out of the quarterfinal of the Champions League, where we say, yeah, they're almost winning everything. They will be winning. everything. They probably win the league. They might win the Champions League. It looks, I mean, the league might be a long shot, but the Champions League looks in the grasp. They're in the semi-finals, and they will be playing Chelsea. It will be a very different game, very interesting game. Tuchel got his wish. For once, he said that he wants to play Chelsea, wants to play Real Madrid, and he's playing Real Madrid. And for Real Madrid, Chelsea is a different task, a different test, a different animal. I think under Tuchel they became way, way better than anybody expected. And we'll see how things are going to be panning out with them in the, in the semi-final. Of course, the first leg is going to be in 2 weeks' time on the 30th of April. Congratulations for Real Madrid. And, we're waiting for the semi-final against Chelsea. And in the other game, of course, of the Champions League, Guardiola finally slayed his demons of the quarter-final and got through to the semi-final of the Champions League by beating Borussia Dortmund 2-1 away from home. But boy, were they made to work for it. They were made to absolutely work for it in this game. Dortmund went ahead early on in the game thanks to Jude Bellingham. And, it was a scare. It was a serious scare. For 55 minutes, it was a brutal sort of feeling that the City fans have of déjà vu. And, they thought, well, we're seeing this again and again, and Guardiola overthinks it. I mean, he didn't play with a proper striker, so you don't really, you cannot really surprise yourself with that. It's the norm now for Guardiola, and it works for him for most of the season. I mean, Borussia Dortmund started the game really well. They scored. They had Man City with that goal with Jude Bellingham. Beautiful goal, by the way. Well taken from the Englishman. He's an absolute talent. He played a great 180 minutes against City on both legs. And then you have, Man City trying to get on the attack, but they missed a couple of chances in the first half. And in the second half, they start super, super strong and super pressing. And, circumstances help them. When you have Emre Can playing against you in Dortmund, he can give you a stupid penalty. I mean, on a first look, it almost looks like it's not a penalty, but on the second look, you can see how stupid Emre Can's decision was. Like, he was opening his arm while taking the ball with his head. And if you look at the picture, if you look at the scene and you look at the action, I think Emre Can had a Borussia Dortmund player behind him, so this was good, easily cleared. I mean, that was the difference, I think, between life and death for Manchester City. They take the penalty. Riyad Mahrez doesn't miss this time, and he smashes it past, Marvin Hitz for the equaliser for Manchester City. And from then on, it was Manchester City's game, and you knew they're not going to be missing it this time. Around, and Phil Foden in the 74th minute managed to make it 2-1 for Manchester City. Beautiful left-footed strike from outside the box, smashing into the post, and in 2-1 for Manchester City. And of course, finally, no bottle job for Manchester City. No bottle job for Guardiola. No quarterfinal ghosts for Guardiola. They made it. They can make it past Dortmund. But again, they were made to work for it. The 180 minutes were not that easy. Manchester City were not that great in both games, I would say. Overall, they had their moments when, it felt like they could have been out of it. Borussia Dortmund certainly had a couple of opportunities after the goal where a better decision-making, again, the theme of the hour in the Champions League, a better decision-making could have made a lot of difference. Again, the game doesn't have anything extraterrestrial to talk about in terms of the performance, because again, that is Man City, that is what we're getting for the rest of the season. Guardiola's playing with no striker, is reaping the benefits. It might not always work, and we're going to get to the semi-final they have in a minute. It might just not work. It might work this time against Dortmund because they have a bad defense, but against a better defense, and I think, in my opinion, the team that they're facing in the Champions League semi-final in PSG certainly has a better defense, in my opinion. Maybe with the return of Marquinhos, maybe with, the way they're set up and the way they break on the counter. It is going to be such an interesting game for Manchester City. Let's give some credit to Dortmund also. I mean, yes, they were a favourable draw. Everybody knew that eventually Man City are going to take them out, but they put the doubt in you. They put the feeling of the doubt in you since the first leg in England, where they had a really, really good game and they had a couple of opportunities. I still believe they were robbed of a legitimate goal for Jude Bellingham, and they could have really, really made this game different had they taken a draw from that game. This game would have been completely different, because when Man City has the lead, at least, Dortmund are the ones demanded to work for it. If it was a draw, it was a completely different story. But in both cases, I think Dortmund delivered a great couple of games over the two legs, and, they're not going to be making it into the Champions League next season, it looks like, in the Bundesliga, so is it the last we've seen of Erling Haaland with Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League? Is he going to be with them next season? I think the race is going to be just getting hotter and hotter and hotter for the signature of Erling Haaland next, and it will be really, really interesting to see how, the teams are going to be ready to break the bank, basically, to sign him in the summer if Dortmund do not make it in the Champions League, and it looks, again, a very likely possibility. Back to Manchester City now, and, the semi-final that are going to be happen in the Champions League is against PSG. And I know this is the money match, quite literally, for the amount of money invested in both sides. And, surprisingly enough, it took the year for Guardiola, the year where they spent the least to get to the Champions League semi-final out of all the season where Guardiola was there. I mean, Guardiola spent around, at least at the moment, if I'm not wrong, 270 million euros since he came to Manchester City, buying fullbacks and buying players and all of that. And he didn't make it past the quarterfinal. It took the year where he spent only 40 million euros on Nathan Ake in order to get it. I mean, he spent in general he spent like 70 million euros. That's, I think, an average for his spending over the last 5 seasons or so. He spent only 70 million euros on 2 defenders, and he gets to the Champions League semi-final. And yes, Ruben Dias is a great defender. He added a lot to Manchester City. But definitely Guardiola had to evolve. He had to realise that overthinking isn't a good thing. And he had to realise that it's not the moment, it's not the time to do it. The City players looked really, really elated with the goal. If you see the celebration that they had and the way they went to Guardiola, even Guardiola himself, usually doesn't go that emotional in celebrations. He did. And it was, I think, an indication of the pressure on him to get past the quarterfinal, to silence his critics, to silence the naysayers that really say, oh, he's not going to be successful after leaving Barcelona. Barcelona made him as a coach and all of that. But you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Guardiola is a great coach and will always be one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I think winning a Champions League with Man City is going to be a stamp of approval more than anything, that he deserves to be among the elite coaches in the world, that he deserves to be one of the best, and, people need to give him his credit, football pundits need to give him his credit, the media needs to give him his credit, it's a due credit for him, and he deserves all the praise in the world for getting Man City through that hurdle of the quarterfinal that they failed at so many years in the Champions League. And in the end, I would say it's an anticipated semi-final. It's a really great semi-final, of course. A very much, very much a money maker again for the Champions League semi-final. Man City PSG, an open game, an exciting game awaits us, and hopefully we get the best out of it. Congratulations for Man City and for PSG by association. Enough with the silly European competitions, and let's get to the greatest European competition on the planet, the UEFA Europa League, and of course soon to be the second greatest competition behind the UEFA Conference League, if that competition goes through anyway. Never mind, this comment is sarcastic, whatever, don't pay attention to it. I have to remind people that it's sarcastic anyway. The second leg of the quarterfinals of the Europa League is set to take place on Thursday today. It is Manchester United hosting Granada, Roma hosting Ajax, Slavia Praha hosting Arsenal, and Villarreal hosting Dinamo Zagreb for Manchester United. And, for Villarreal, really, it looks like a pretty done deal and dusted. Manchester United beat Granada 2-0 away from home in the first leg. A first leg that, the most exciting thing about it was a nude invader, nude streaker getting onto the pitch during the game. It was a hilarious, scene. If you didn't watch it again, check it out on Twitter. It is absolutely amazing. Roma hosting Ajax. Roma, after managing to turn things around away from home against Ajax and beat them 2-1 at Amsterdam, it might be really interesting to see how they're going to be panning things out in the second leg in Rome. I believe that Ajax have an opportunity to go through. They still could steal one if they play their cards right. I mean, they play too exciting of a football really to defend a lead. Ajax, it looks like. They missed the first leg, a lot of opportunities in the first leg. Classic scenario, I would say. Roma didn't have a lot of opportunities, but they scored twice. Ajax missed a whole host of opportunities, and they only could score once to take the lead in that game. Slavia Praha hosting Arsenal, a game that, again, the first leg, Arsenal really missed a chance on themselves to settle the deal and to go through all from the first leg to help themselves into, going through, and, they lost the lead in the 94th minute against Slavia Praha. They sort of squandered an opportunity here, and if they manage to, and if Slavia Praha knock them out of the Champions League, that's going to be quite the feat for the Czech side. Villarreal, of course, defeated Dinamo Zagreb away from home 1-0. They have the advantage, and I don't really see Dinamo Zagreb turning things around unless, they do the same against, as they did against Tottenham, which is, possible, really. It looks like Dinamo Zagreb might be the dark horses. One of these two sides might be a dark horse to win it, actually. I don't know, I have a feeling that whichever side is going to qualify from those is going to be in the final, really. I feel that, they might be two of the dark horses of the competition, really, particularly Villarreal, I would say, because they performed really, really well over the course of the season. Again, mostly out of these four quarterfinals, only Manchester United who could say that this is truly done and dusted, and this game is put to bed since the first leg. Granada, thanks for achieving, the European glory again. Like 14 to 15 years ago, they were in the lower divisions of the Spanish football, and then they find themselves in the top tier European football, playing Europa League football against Manchester United. That is quite the change, quite the transformation for Granada. But eventually, Man United, I think they should be favourites to win this one. This has to be Man United's year in the Europa League. They have to. I don't think that there's a team in the whole competition at the moment, at least from the 8 left, that could really give United a challenge. I don't really see that happening. I don't really see how any of the other 7 teams is going to give United a challenge. Of course, not Granada. I think they're done and through with them. I don't know how any of the other 7 teams could really give them a shot, could really give them an opportunity, to not win it, to not, to not get through to the final in an easy way. I really can see United winning it, I think, by a good margin, in my opinion. So definitely, United are favourites to win it. I don't see any of the team aside from them, really. The quarterfinal of this competition, and at least this season, doesn't seem that interesting, unlike last season where you had pretty decent sides. You have, of course, Sevilla, the record holders of the competition. You had Inter Milan, you had Bayer Leverkusen. Yes, no disrespect to Granada, Slavia Praha, Villarreal, Dinamo Zagreb, or even Arsenal, really. Of course, Arsenal are a great team. But again, aside from Man United, I don't see any side going into this competition and winning it this season. It is, I think, and considering how Man United were eliminated of the Champions League, they should be winning the Europa League. They should be winning the Europa League as an extra bonus to their season, with, of course, being the second in the league, and looks like they'll be second in the league behind Manchester City. That's it from me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes, of course, of the podcast, and listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Follow us on social media site, BSB_Pod on Instagram. Help us on our way to our first K, and join us for more, always on this channel. Thank you for watching / listening. I was your boy, the HOD of the BSB, and goodbye.